see you guys. All right, today's project, it is the Stinky Cute Mary Moose Rustic Manly Gift Box. Thank you, Sharon. It is the perfect box for the best gift ever when you open it up. Look at that. I feel like this is a game show where you can open, just the cash is overflowing. And there's a little hundy wrapped up. It is the perfect gift. It's the perfect box. And today I'm going to share with you how to make it. I was totally inspired by the Stampin' Up! Project on page 27 of the Holiday Mini. There's that sweet the season. This time, for this holiday catalog, it's been available, and I'm glad because I absolutely love it. It's perfect for manlier projects. And as Nikki says, she likes it. Thank you, Nikki. And I'm going to share with you how to make the box, some of the elements that I used to make it an even funner box. And again, I'm still trying to get those shadows off for you. It's always hard to get my lighting right, but all right. So let me share with you what I'm using. So you know, yikes, my things are a little bit far from me. Let's see if I can get these things without tripping up. I feel totally unprepared today. Let's see. I've got to reach over. And sorry about that, guys. I think I'm still blown away by the good news I got today. So anyway, let's see if I can get this going. So I am using, you can see the lid has that beautiful buffalo check. The star of the show, of course, is the Mary Moose, and it is a bundle, so the coordinating punch, and I love the punch bundles. And I've used a couple of other elements on the card. I've again used my beautiful Bows dies. I love these dies with the pretty pine foliage, the pine cones, the perfect labels. And I'm using some old standbys, my stitched label dies. I've cut a stitch square and a stitch circle. So there we go. And one more thing, I have added my festive felt. This time I'm using the Real Red on this project. So fun elements. And I'm going to show you how to construct the box and how to get a nice impression for your buffalo check because it is a little bit tricky. So let me put that aside for now. And let me bring in what we need for the project. So the base of our box is basic black. It is a 7.5-inch square. Nikki wants to know what mine is. I'll tell you later, Nikki. 7.5-inch basic black square. I've got a Real Red rectangle that measures, get this, it's 5 9/16, and I'll tell you why in a bit, and it's 7.5 inches high. So I've got basic black, Real Red. I have my Very Vanilla stitched circle, and I have my festive felt in the Real Red, and that is the 2 3/4 inch square. I have a basic black inch square, sorry, a basic black 2 7/8 square. I have a 1/2 inch cardstock piece of garden green. I have one little beautiful bow, one little branch. That's all I need. And I've got a scrap of Very Vanilla. That's what I'm going to be stamping and piercing and punching on. All right, so let me get started. I'm going to start off with this basic black. This is going to be the base of our box. You notice it's kind of high. That's because you need lots of space in there for the cash. So this is going to turn down to this size. Let me show you how. I need my old pal, the Stampin' paper trimmer. You know, this Stampin' Up! Is the best because it's got the cutting blade and the scoring blade. And I'm going to give a 2-inch score on all sides. So I'm just going to bring it up, score it at the 2-inch line on all 4 sides. This is basic box construction. There we go. All 4 sides. So boxes are actually pretty easy to construct. Once you've done one, it comes together and it's easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and also score my, nope, not gonna do that yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to stamp it first. So coming back to my box base, I'm gonna go ahead and fold and burnish on all the score lines. So we're gonna get this going together. This is just the base of the box. And if it was 7.5 inches and we scored it on all 4 sides, it's going to be what size? It's going to be a 3.5 inch box all the way around. Okay, so now I'm going to just come up and trim up to the horizontal score line. I'm going to come and trim that 2 inches on both ends, the right and the left and the right. And I'm going to go ahead and debulk these little tabs. I'm going to make a little dart. So hopefully you can see well coming in here. And I'm going to debulk on both sides of the tab. So a little angle, just a sliver, not a lot. And on both tabs. And the other. So I finally placed my demonstrator pre-order yesterday. And the good news is demonstrators can finally pre-order that mini cut and emboss machine. We've been teased with it in the main catalog since what? Since June. And we can finally order that. So that's another perk of being a demonstrator. You get to get in on the first round of everything. So I did not rush this delivery. Usually I expedite my demo orders. This time I didn't, only because, truth be told, I have a box of new catalog items already waiting for me. They've been kind of calling at me to get inked up. I know, Sandy, I'm anxious to get that mini stamp, or sorry, cut and emboss machine. I know I have a few people who have been waiting on it and asking about it, so I'm really eager to get my hands on it and see if it's as much as it was cracked up to be. I think I'm gonna like the mininess of it. There we go. Okay, so I've been cutting as I've been talking, so you can see I just cut the flaps on both sides, top and bottom, right and left, and I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this box construction. So I'm just gonna bring in the tabs. Let me do it this way. And I'm going to need to put adhesive on the outside of these tabs. The best adhesive for box construction is the tear and tape. And so I'm just going to add a bit on the sides here. I can see I'm getting my supply down to the last bit. So another good adhesive for box construction is my old favorite, liquid glue. It's just a little bit messier, but it works as well, and it's really economical. The tear and tape is easy. It's not so messy. It's still nice and durable. See, I just used the last of it. And my other roll is in my kit. So I'm going to go ahead and use my faithful friend. Hopefully I have a little bit left of this. Yikes. All right. Okay, so now I am going to be bringing that up, and I'm going to burnish this so I can remove the protection on it so I can get that adhered. I like to use my Pick-a tool because my nails are not very long right now, and it's kind of hard to remove that layer sometimes. So the Pick-a tool is the perfect helper. This is something you need in your crafty kit. All right, so now I'm going to bring that up, fold up the sides, really easy. There we go. And here we go. So gift cards and cash going to be on the list, on the gift list this year. They always are. They're always appreciated. but it's kind of nice to put it in a special presentation. So whether it's a holder or a box, it's always fun. And just removing, yikes, tearing that off. And, you know, I'm kind of winding down the series. So today's day 9. That means what? I have three more projects to share with you. And I have them in my head already. I just need to get them out of my head and created to share with you. That's what's on my agenda for this evening, as well as prepping for my monthly team meeting. When we gather, we always get to do a make and take, and so I need to cut and prep for that as well. We're also having a tag exchange, a Secret Santa exchange. I've got prizes to get labeled because team members who had a successful month get some prizes. All right, so there is the base of my box. It's a 3.5-inch square box. It's 2 inches high. For now, I'm going to set this aside and we're going to work on the lid. So the lid now is real red. And as I said, it measures 5 9/16, just 1/16 over the 5.5-inch mark. So generally when you do a lidded box, your lid needs to be about 1/16 bigger than the base of the box. And I am bringing in the best tool for alignment and for a lot of other applications, the Stamparatus. The reason I'm using the Stamparatus today is because I am going to be inking up this giant background stamp. The buffalo check, I've already placed it on the plastic hinge of my Stamparatus. I've kind of aligned it. It's sort of center aligned. It's not critical at this point. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tuxedo black and ink up. And the reason I love this Stamparatus tool for giant stamps like this is because sometimes the coverage isn't what you want it to be on the first inking, and with the Stamparatus tool you can get perfect alignment, so the second time you stamp down it's going to be in the exact same spot. Now let's see, I need to, you know, somehow this got turned around. Oh, I know, I need to turn that over. I had my cheat sheet, my notes right here, and I'm wondering like what happened to my notes. Okay, so I'm going to put this in, put it way up to the top, and the paper has been cut bigger than I need because we're going to trim it down, and also because this background, the stamp goes all the way up to the edge of the paper if you cut it the exact size. So you can see, hopefully, you can see the top and bottom of the cardstock and the Stamparatus. I have a little bit at the top, I have a little bit at the bottom. That's going to be where I can place my magnets because I do want to have that magnet on there so the paper won't shift. And the next thing I'm doing is kind of checking the alignment as well. I want this to be centered because the stamp is actually a little bit smaller than the box lid that I need. So I want to make sure I have an equal amount on the left and an equal amount on the right. The top and bottom aren't going to matter because we're actually going to get to cut this down to a 5 9/16 inch square. Okay, so I'm going to ink down and press firmly, and you're going to see you might be a little bit disappointed with the first inking. It's very light, it's really splotchy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back in, I'm going to ink up again and ink a second time. And you can repeat until you get the vibrancy that you like. That is the beauty of the Stamparatus, because if you were working with just a stamping block, you would never be able to get it in the exact same spot. So with this alignment tool, it's perfect. I'm going to do a second inking and show you the results, and notice how I have to rub all the way in. This background stamp is huge. There we go. And I'm still not quite pleased with it. This is a buffalo check. It's supposed to look like a worn flannel shirt to me, and sometimes you don't get perfect coloring. I do want it to be a little bit darker though. And here we go. Third inking. Let's see if this one does the trick for me. There we go. And I'm gonna lift, and I think I'm okay with this one. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. And let's see, I'm gonna take my cheat sheet off of this as well. That gave me all the measurements that I needed for this project. I'm just gonna put that aside. Now I'm ready to trim this. This is not the size I want it. I'm gonna want it to be a 5 9/16 inch square, which means I'm gonna trim this down. I'm gonna bring in my paper trimmer. And this width should be correct. That's what we started with, 5 9/16. Now I'm gonna rotate, and I'm going to want the check to be centered. So I'm gonna bring this in, trim it down, and I think I'm gonna have 5 9/16. So let's see if I can trim this down. I'm gonna trim down right on the pattern. And then I'm gonna rotate, and I'm gonna bring it up to 5 9/16. That's just one little mark over the 5.5 inch mark. And so now I've got my buffalo check ready to go. You can see it's a 5 9/16 inch square. I'm gonna score 1 inch on all sides. So the lid is only 1 inch deep. And you're gonna see there's a little bit of an imperfection in the pattern because of the size of the background stamp. It didn't extend all the way across one side of it. The stamp is smaller than 5 9/16. So this is handmade. It's not gonna be perfect like a machine-made pattern would be. And if it bothers you, you could try and line it and get a little bit of the buffalo check on the other sides as well. But it's handmade for the holidays. It's perfect for me. That's what I like about my handmade projects. They are made from the hands and made from the heart. So perfection is not necessary. And I'm just doing the same as I did with the base. I'm gonna fold on all scores and burnish. Now I'm gonna trim up. And with my paper snips, I'm gonna repeat what I did with the bottom. So you can see now 2 times you should have the idea of box creation down. So really easy to engineer a box to any size. Just remember, when you do the lid, it should be 1/16 of an inch larger than your base. That gives you a little bit of leeway to secure the top without you having to scrunch or tug at the base to make it fit. And then I'm going to flip, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. And I'm just debulking my little tabs. And right through here. And debulk the tab. Remember, you don't want to cut horizontally. You're just trying to get that tab loose so you can fold up. All right, so since I'm out of tear and tape, I'm going to need to use my favorite, my loyal liquid glue. And let's see, right through here and here. And just remember, when you're using the liquid glue, don't let it get out of control. You don't want it to get messy. I'm going to bring that up and align it right to the other tab. And you're going to need to hold on to that. If you're using liquid glue, you just need to press firmly. And again, on the other side, putting a little bit of liquid glue. There we go. All right, so there is my lid, buffalo check, and you can see what I mean about the pattern not extending all the way down. So we have one little check on this side, all checks there, and there's one little check on that side. So we kind of balanced it out. It's still kind of centered. That's my lid. We have the base. Let's go ahead and construct the decoration. So for the decoration, I'm going to start with a basic black 2 7/8 inch square. I'm going to go ahead and adhere my 2 3/4 inch festive felt square, and I'm not sure if you can see or not. I use the stitch shapes because you can actually see the little stitching on the edge of the square. It makes it really sweet. It makes it like that clothing article. And I'm going to adhere with liquid glue, and I'm going to be generous with it. Flip it over, and we're going to have an equal border all the way around. Right through there. All right, so now I'm ready to do some stamping. I'm going to push my little black felt square up. I'm going to do some stamping, bring in my stamps. The Mary Moose stamp set is photopolymer, so I'm going to need my piercing mat to get a good inking. And I'm going to be stamping mostly on my stitched circle. So I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to start with a tree that's part of the set. I'm using the tree in crumb cake, and it's going to be inked up and stamped just slightly to the left. So here's my stitch circle, slightly to the left. I want the top of the tree on there, so I'm not getting the full impression, but I'm just missing like the base of the tree. So nice light tree comes from the stamp set. Next, I'm going to get my scrap of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to ink up the outline of the moose. And for the outline, I'm using soft suede. I'm going to ink up nicely, and I'm going to ink towards the bottom of my scrap because I'm going to be punching this out. So if I stamp too high, when I reach in with my punch, it's not going to grab the entire image. So I'm going to stamp towards the lower base of the scrap. There's my soft suede moose. And now I'm not going to have to color him in because there is a stamp. This is two-step stamping. I'm going to come back in with my crumb cake, ink up, and it's a little bit tricky. I have to go right over top so I can see the alignment. So what I like to look at is both the antlers up at the top and then also his legs to make sure that they're landing just right at the right angle. So inking down and up, and I'm pretty happy with that. Not too bad at all. And let's go ahead and punch this. Again, I flipped the punch over so I can find the alignment really easily. There we go. And you're going to have a tiny outline all the way around. There's my moose. I'm going to set that aside. My next thing I'm going to ink up is my greeting. So sweet. It says Merry Christmas, and I'm going to ink up on garden green with my tuxedo black pad. It's 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to kind of align it nicely. I'm going to come in and dovetail the ends of this just with my paper snips. And let's see, I'm going to get some of this ink out of my way before I start getting inky arms and inky fingers. Here we go. All right, so now I'm going to just snip about 1/2 inch on each side after the little sentiment. And here's how I like to dovetail it when I'm not using a punch. I'm just going to bring my snips and go in about 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to meet in the middle diagonally and bring that in. Really easy. I love to use the punch too. It comes out perfect every time, but I'm just going to hand snip it, and it's not going to be perfect. That's what handmade is all about. What's perfect is the gift that's inside, right? Okay, so I've got my Merry Moose sentiment, and I'm finished with my stamping, so I'm going to move my piercing mat out of the way, I'm going to bring in and assemble my focal point. So I've got my stitch circle. I've got a little branch from the Beautiful Boughs die. It's going to pop everything out. I'm going to just assemble this with liquid glue, so a little bit of glue on the back. And it's going to, hope it's going to cooperate with me. I'm afraid to squeeze too much for fear that it's all going to come oozing out. Let me see if I can unclog that. It's just kind of been sitting while I've been crafting here. This is why I like to have my little thumbtack at the ready. Pull that off. Let's see if this works. All right, so let's see. I just need a tiny, there we go. Now it's flowing. Gonna bring that in. It's gonna come from the top of the circle. Just gonna peek over, like we've got a little tree branch hanging there. I'm gonna flat adhere my sentiment, Merry Christmas, again. There we go. And it's going to go right to the right. Now my moose is going to be popped up with dimensionals, and some parts of the little moose are pretty tiny, so I'm going to bring in my mini dimensionals, and I'm going to try and use just a few because I want him to be really stable on the box. You know, most likely this box will be saved to be reused. And so I want to make sure that it doesn't fall apart after first use. So I'm putting a little dimensional on the antlers, down towards the bottom of his legs, on his hind end, and a little bit down here at the other end of his body. So lots of mini dimensionals, perfect size. Go ahead and reveal those. There. And just going to pop him on, walking onto the focal point. There's our sentiment, the branch, want that adhered right there. All right, so next I'm going to go ahead and layer. Now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and layer it onto my festive felt. I love having the texture on this box. So I could have used just real red paper, but the felt makes it really feel like that little buffalo check flannel shirt. And looks like I'm almost out of my liquid glue as well. Okay, so I am going to put more glue than I typically put on there because I'm gluing onto the festive felt. I really want it to stick on there. I'm going to go ahead and press down. And I'm pretty happy with it at this point. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it onto my box. And notice what I'm going to do. Since this is really the front of the box, I'm going to look for the pattern to extend all the way down here. So the sides will be the ones that have a little bit of check missing. So I'm going to put it right like so. Again, liquid glue. Whoa, you know, those little dimensional covers wind up all over. I was going to say in the strangest places, but not just in the strangest places, basically all over. Oh my goodness. This looks like the end. No, it's not. It's not the end. I've still got plenty in here. And I say that because I've actually opened up these liquid glue bottles before when I thought they were dry. Opened it up. I just sliced it open with scissors, and there was still loads of glue inside. Okay, so now I'm just going to center that onto my lid. Press down so it's secure. How sweet is that? What do you think? I'm pretty happy with my box, can you tell? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on, and I'm just going to have to pinch a tiny bit because I have that 1/16 give. But wait, we're not done. I have to add a jingle bell. I think a little bit of gold would be perfect on this box. This is your gift with purchase today. It has been a gift on a previous day. I'm using up quite a bit of these little jingle bells, so hopefully you will too. And I'm going to put that on a little twine, a red twine bow first I need to get it on. I'm going to use some of my linen thread. Thank you, Sandy. I'm glad you liked the little project. I had fun with it. I love the Christmas mousse. And it didn't get a lot of love this year. It got lots of love last year, but this year, because I had so many other things that I wanted to be using, it kind of kept getting passed over. I did make a manly birthday card with it for Card Club last month. So I took about 6 inches of twine. I'm going to go ahead and knot this up so I can slip it into that red twine, right like that. And I'm going to take about, I'm actually going to pre-cut this. I'm going to take about 9 inches. Don't want to waste, but I don't want to come up short. And here's why I pre-cut. I'm going to go ahead and slip my bell through. And it's already, this twine, this braided twine is so cool because you can spread it and make it look like a net, but it makes it hard when it's already spreading and you're trying to feed it through. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to tie a little bow. I'm going to use the Sandy trick with the 2 little rabbit ears. So I store mine upside down. Barbara says she stores her Tombow glue upside down in a shot glass. I used to do that, Barb, and then I found that it was starting to clog down at that end. So I don't know if you've noticed, I like to store mine lying down. There you go. That's my tip. I put it lying down because storing it upside down was getting it all clogged up at the pen tip. And once it gets clogged up on the inside, it's kind of hard to unclog with just the thumbtack. All right, so here we go. I've got my cute little bell. Obviously the tails of the ribbon are too long, as well as the linen thread. I'm going to go ahead and add my glue dot. I know I've seen some fancy contraptions for storing your Tombow liquid glue upside down. I think there's a whole little side business for that as well. Again, I just like to lie it down. So now I'm going to come and I'm going to place this up right here at the top of that branch. Now I'm ready to trim and make it pretty. Going to trim this down just a tiny bit, as well as the other side. I'm reaching over to this side. Hopefully you didn't get in your view. And trim that linen thread down. And there you have it. The Manly Rustic gift box for the best gift ever. I used the buffalo check, my festive felt. The star of the show is the Merry Moose. The little accent is the jingle bell and the braided red twine. I think it's pretty cute. I hope you like it too.